I think that's where the power in this analogy comes from. The idea that in something so dirty, murky, gross, disgusting, whatever negative word you want to use, something so beautiful and great and tremendous and full of life is able to grow out of those circumstances and those conditions. What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of The Morning Takeaway. And as I sit here and talk, I'm kind of realizing I'm pretty nasally. The past couple of days I had a weird throat thing and then just like common whatever you want to call it. That's a whole nother podcast talking about sickness. In my opinion, and just to start this freaking podcast off hot, sickness, like a common cold, is essentially a thought. And if you haven't heard of Joe Dispenza, you should look him up because he basically breaks this down on the most fundamental level possible, and the idea that a thought can create sickness. And it's pretty in depth, and I'm not trying to be controversial here. It's just a whole idea in and of itself, right? So anyways, that is not what this podcast is about. I was just hearing myself talk for the first time on this morning, but I wanted to address that. So today's episode is going to be kind of a part 2 to my last episode. In last episode, we were talking about lily pads and the idea that a lily pad doubles in size every single day. And after 30 days, a lily pad is able to, after 30 days, the entire pond will be filled up. So if on day 30 it was filled, what day was it halfway filled? And instinctively we want to think the 15th day. But realistically, the real answer is day 29. And that culmination and that little things affect, right? And as I addressed in the last podcast, it was literally back-to-back days that I heard this metaphor analogy with the lotus flower and the lily pads. And I just kind of became obsessed with swamps. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not the swamp, but the lotus flower in general. And this one really hit me. To me, it's not as, I don't know if the word is comprehensible as the kind of the math that goes behind the lily pads, but I think there's something, for lack of a better word, much more beautiful in this analogy. And I think, excuse me while I rub my eye, I was also touching Juju and I'm allergic to my own dog. Anyways, so there's the idea of a lotus flower is this, and we'll just jump right into it. It grows in a swamp. It's one of the most beautiful flowers on earth. You look at a lotus flower, and if you haven't seen one, look one up. They're beautiful. They're incredible. I don't think there's anybody that can deny that. I'm actually pretty sure, I don't know if they originated in India, but I know that they are used in like ancient Indian culture as their flower. I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of resemblance to what they believe in India, and I think it's super powerful because there's so much symbolism within this flower, and that's what I'm going to dive into a little bit more. So as I said, they grow in a swamp. Swamps are dirty, murky water. When you first hear the word swamp, you don't necessarily think of the most beautiful thing in the world. You think of dirtiness. You think of probably a little bit more negative connotation, right? And I think that's where the power in this analogy comes from, is in the idea that in something so dirty, murky, gross, disgusting, whatever negative word you want to use, something so beautiful and great and tremendous and full of life is able to grow out of those circumstances and those conditions. And whoever you are out there, or whoever might need to hear this, we all go through something that is negative. We all experience this thing of life, and we all go through this journey of life. And there's no one person that goes through this thing and says, hey, everything's perfect, right? And whoever portrays it to be or shows that it is perfect for them, there's probably some more depth in there, right? I think we can all relate to the idea that like life, there's times where life sucks, and we're all dealt a hand of cards, and it's up to us to make what we want out of that hand that we're dealt, right? And this is all relative as well, right? To whoever you are, to whatever situation you were given, and the circumstances that you were given, and the circumstances that you were brought up in, it's relative. It's you have somebody's problem over here may not be the same problem over there. Somebody that grows up in the heart of 8 Mile and deep Detroit compared to Beverly Hills, right? Like, we can all agree that these are two polar opposites. But just because you grew up in those circumstances doesn't mean that you don't have problems, right? If you grew up in Beverly Hills, what's a problem to you is probably not really it's probably a luxury to somebody over here in 8 Mile Detroit, or, Section 8 housing, whatever it is, right? But this person over here, or, they haven't experienced anything other than that so-called problem. And for them, that's a real problem, and it can't be downplayed. I think there's a disconnect between this too, and just kind of our nation as a whole, if you will, that those problems do exist, and the mind frame and perspective has to be open. We have to be open as people to see, hey, everybody does have problems, and they are real problems for that specific individual. And to me, that is where the Lotus falls. And whatever murky water you're treading, whatever murky water you're swimming in, or were put in from the time you came on this planet, right? There's opportunity in that. There's opportunity to create something that you want to create. We live in a world that our minds are so powerful, and that we can connect to just whatever you believe in. You can connect to and manifest and use the power of choice, and your ability to choose is something so powerful, right? You can choose to get out of that situation. You can choose to be open to a new perspective. You can choose to take action on the life that you want to live and that you envision. And I think that's where all of this comes full circle with the lotus flower. There's so much different meanings with the lotus flower that we could dive into, but this is just what really hit me when I heard the example. It's funny, it's taken me 26 years to hear this example, but it's just been hitting me so hard. And I felt like I would be remiss, if that's the right word, if I didn't share it, because it was so profound when I heard this analogy that I was like, I just kept layering it and layering it and layering it and breaking it down. And there's just so many different little things that I was trying to gather in my brain, and I wanted to put together. So here I am rambling on. And, I think another example, and one of the layers that I was trying to tear into on this analogy, is the idea that, like, what you see on the outside is not necessarily it's not exactly, don't judge a book by its cover, right? It's the same kind of example. You never know what is truly on the inside or under that murky water that somebody went through to get to where they are, or what they look like on the outside, right? Beautiful, quote unquote, whatever your definition of beautiful is on the outside, we're all beautiful human beings. You're beautiful on the inside, you're beautiful on the outside. And as, quote unquote, corny as that could sound, it's true. Like there is a true beauty in us as individuals and as human beings, and the idea that we all have our own story and we have the ability to be vulnerable to share that, in my opinion, is what really genuinely creates connection between us as human beings, right? We're able to share with each other and connect over something. Maybe we have common ground in our problems, our adversity, or our successes and the beauty, right? And that idea of just this beautiful flower on the outside, you truly don't know what it's like on the under surface in that murky water, right? Like, what did that beautiful flower go through to bloom and blossom into what it looks like? And again, that's the overarching theme here. Is it's you have the option, you have the opportunity to make something out of murkiness, and whatever that murky water is, you can always become the lotus flower. And you know, I don't know. As I talk about it out loud, I keep coming back to that same circle. But again, the layers of symbolism that it shows, I think, is something super powerful. So I hope you resonated with that in some way, shape, or form. If you did, if you don't mind sharing this with somebody that you might think would resonate with it as well, that's the easiest way that you can repay me, by watching these podcasts. So, and while you're at it, don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you're the first one to get my notifications when these videos come out. And we're not done here. I'm just realizing how powerful I'm kind of in like this Zen state right now, super like chill. I don't know. I guess this nose thing has something weird to do with it too. But anyways, so I want to end this thing with a random question generator. Let's see what randomness I get. When was the last time you changed your opinion about something major? The first thing that's coming to my mind is my philosophy on fitness. And I don't think it wasn't really that recently, but I think I'm always open to that every single day. Because my philosophy on fitness is, one, the idea that so many different things work for so many different people, and that's why fitness is great. But I remember a distinct point, it was when COVID hit, that I was like super into only doing back and biceps, chest and triceps, legs, and like kind of the quote unquote bro split. And then I started focusing on full body stuff. And I was like, wait, I'm seeing way better results here. I feel better. I'm more healthy through my joints. And that was a really big shift for me. Again, that was 2.5, 3 years ago, but that was something pretty major for me, because I started to program my clients and give advice to different people and on different topics that was different than what I had in the past. And again, there's no wrong answer, because different things work for different people. And in the grand scheme of things, if we're all moving and eating right and staying consistent with that, we're probably going to live a healthier, happier life. So that's my random question that was generated for me. I just did another quick one really quick because I felt like doing it. And it says, what's on your bucket list this year? My bucket list this year is to go out of country at least once, whether it's back to where I have relatives in England, or I really want to go to Greece, Italy, Spain, somewhere crazy, cool. But other than that, I'll be traveling to Hawaii. Is going to be the big one. This year. I'm going to be there 2 or 3 or 4 times. So pretty pumped for that this year, as I have been home for 31 days now, consecutively, which is pretty long for me. Anyways, you guys don't care about this. I don't know why I'm rambling on to myself. I am going to wrap this thing up, and I appreciate you listening. If there was something I said that you resonated with it, leave in the comments. I'd be happy to talk about this topic with any of you in the comments. I love hearing your perspective on these kind of ideas. So that said, I hope you have an awesome freaking day, and don't forget to smile.